Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to look at the science behind staying balanced.
Everything you saw today was not magic. It's not because of the spring equinox, and it can actually be done on any day of the year with a little bit of patience.
It actually has to do with something called the center of mass or the center of gravity, and it's just the balancing of forces.
When you look at our little graphics right here, you can see that all of the images on here show that the forces are balanced on either side of a pivot point. When we balance the broom, you have to make sure that the mass on one side of the pivot point and the mass on the other is the same. Therefore, the broom will stand upright. You can see that over here, if you turn the broom on its side, you move your finger closer to the center of mass, or closer to where the mass is. You have to account for all the mass on the left. The pivot point is your finger, and all the mass on the right. And if those two are equal, it will balance on your finger.
With the salt shaker, we've tipped it on its side because what we've been able to do is use the point of the bottom of the container, and we've been able to tip it enough. The angle at which it's actually tipped is separating the mass on one side to equal the mass on the other side. We did use a little bit of salt on the table this time because salt is a six-sided crystal, so it gives us a little bit more traction to keep it on the surface instead of the super smooth table.
We did that all with the same objects that you saw on the counter. The same thing with the egg. We put a little bit of salt underneath the egg so that it would stay balanced. Likewise with the cup and the fork and the spoon, we made sure that the amount of weight that was on either side of the toothpick was balanced, and therefore the toothpick served as the fulcrum, as the pivot point on the glass.
The biggest focus here is we're all looking at the force of weight. Weight is just mass times gravity. Here on Earth, we know that's 9.8 meters per second squared, or newtons. When we add that to the mass of each individual object, if we can balance them out no matter what we're trying to balance, you're able to get them to perfectly balance around that one pivot point. You can try it with almost anything at home.
So your challenge this week is to try to balance as many objects as you can. I want you to try things like brooms, try things like, anything, rocks, anything that's got some sort of flat surface that you can get two objects to balance on either side. See if you can figure out where the center of mass would be on those random objects. Good luck. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.